in our bans for game number 2. Orianna, Cassiopeia, Akali, all. And Rise as well, hitting the ban table. So we'll see if WE continue down this trend. Once again, outside of the ban towards Monki's Poppy, we are not looking at any junglers in particular. So pretty much free reign here for Tian to take what he wants.
It's going to be the Olaf first pick here. I imagine this is going to Zuian on the top side. He has played it a ton over the course of this split already, and he's looked awesome on this Olaf. Olaf, in general, a pick that is completely risen in terms of priority in this meta. I'm not surprised to see the early pick priority. It's just a lot of confidence, I think, in Zuian, a player that we did highlight. The only player with a gold lead in the previous game could have the chance to do it again. Technically, this is a flex, but I think this is going topside.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is one of the issues that you get when you take the Olaf here is getting answered with a Trundle. First of all, terrain generation versus a champion that typically immune CC is probably the best way to go about it. Also, Ragnarok plus Subjugate makes one for a squishy Olaf, so lots of really big problems for Zuian if he gets caught by that Subjugate. So we'll see that hopefully in the future in this game. And WE also look for the Nautilus for Erha.
Just the highest priority engage support I guess you can get here, especially with the Shen taken off the board. It's going to be an aggressive comp for top esports no matter what they lock in here. Creme, we wanted to see him be more active. He's going to lock in that lock itself. Another blind pick in the mid lane. And we're getting Lee Sin as well for Tian. The gauntlet has been thrown down. Down 0-1. We're going for a full skill check and snowball comp.
Yeah, this composition scales like doo-doo. Like, we are going to see Samira bot alongside Blitzcrank. That's the top esports bot lane that they're drafting, and we'll hear nothing more from it.
Oh, please.
WE, though, now to decide if they've got the counter to lock. Very frequently we've seen this pick taken as an answer to your control mages. WE double down and say, you want to fight fire? We have got fire as well.
I really wanted Assassin versus Assassin in the mid lane in this series, and we're getting it. I would say Locke is definitely, fitting the bill here. LeBlanc, a champion that also needs to snowball, but pairs really well with the Trundle because of the amount of space that Trundle creates and, the ability to sap a lot of these tanks. It makes it a lot easier for LeBlanc to find angles in the late game. Karis is going to be really active on the map. These junglers are going to have their hands full in terms of keeping these lanes in check because there's going to be a lot of action in this game as we get to the bans. Xerath and Lucian taken off the board for WE. Xerath has been a nightmare for teams to play against for top esports. JackeyLove has looked excellent on that champ, but even more bot lane pressure coming in.
And especially with WE currently, like their composition is short to mid-range at best. Corki is not helping that manifest in any way. So getting rid of Xerath is just a really good tool to just say, you know what, we know JackeyLove's played this. We also know that currently it completely destroys our composition, so let's just get it out of the way. The Vayne and the Varus taken off the board by top esports. You would think they were bot lane bans if you'd not watched any league this season, but no, those are to protect for Zuian. And now top esports are going to decide how they want to match that bot lane. The Sivir gets locked in just to enable that run forward, kill enemy style.
Olaf with Sivir ult, it's pretty good. It definitely feels a lot better. Zhuo's definitely going to have some sort of playmaker here. You're basically leaving Sivir isolated on an island on the bot side. It's going to be the Alistar as the pick of choice rather than something like the Leona that I think could have also been an option this game. We have a very clear identity for top esports, and it's go, go, go.
Yeah. And I don't think it's too dissimilar from the WE composition's identity either. I think it really hems on what this top lane pick ends up being. We could see Tristana maybe is like the other answer for the top lane AD carries. Say that with bated breath as they're going to flex the Trundle, which feels so in line with what we'd already highlighted about this matchup. We said Trundle's a massive counter to the Olaf. Why don't we just put it in the top lane to do it from level 1?
I mean, this is an incredible lane for Trundle. Like, it is a really easy lane to be able to pick up advantages in, even if it's not super easy before level 4. Once you start getting those extra stats, it snowballs out of control. Trundle gets full side lane control very quickly. This is shocking to me. I mean, Monki is the Trundle guy, and so very cool to see them flex it. What this does create is a situation where you spike so hard throughout a lot of the early game, but need to make sure that you negate that mid-game power spike. Top esports are going to have so much pressure at level 6. Once those first items are starting to get completed, that is going to be a big part of the map for them. If they don't win then, I'm not sure they're going to have a lot of ways to be able to salvage it.
No, and I think as well, they've really focused on how do we answer the Trundle, and not so much on how do we answer the rest of the team necessarily. I think that this Sivir for JackeyLove is the hidden pocket pick for this game that could really come home and spoil WE's day. Going to scale it incredibly well in a game where there isn't really any scaling across each side. So eyes on JackeyLove as this game gets later, and especially for Top Esports here, down 0-1 in a series that, you know, this one was much more closely contested than we would expect. We've seen Top Esports really struggle this week already. They were 0-2'd by LGD just yesterday. So for them, this is redemption, and losing 0-2 to WE will not do that for them as we load onto the Rift for Game 2.
We get Gyos for both sides today, which I think is really exciting. Sometimes in these matchups, you get, you know, one crowd a little louder than the other, but it does feel like both fan bases have shown up today. We're getting a little bit of a stat. The last, I believe that is the last Trundle top lane in the LPL. Zoom, that's a crazy callback back in 2021. We will see, obviously, if Cube can have the same effect. I think it's a great lane matchup, but gonna be interesting to see if they can have that pressure in the same kind of way. Zuian already feeling it on the top side.
And you can see as well, want to quickly highlight the difference in both Keystone and Summoner spells here. So for Zuian has gone for the Conqueror, which is going to feel a little bit more towards the later game and towards the ability he'll have in a team fight. Whereas for Cube, he's gone for the Lethal Temper, which will ramp up very quickly for the Trundle with the auto attack reset on the Chomp. So very much lane-oriented for Cube, as well as the exhaust for both of these top laners. They are expecting this one to be bloody, and this feels like a matchup that will continue to be very volatile. Like, you get one kill, and then the game completely ends.
Absolutely. I mean, you cannot afford to give over free gold if you're either of these two teams. For Top Esports, it's mostly because you're in a position where you kind of have to spike in the mid game. You don't scale particularly well. Any free gold just delays that power spike even more and makes it so your comp doesn't function as well. But if you're WE, you also don't really want to give a lot of gold over in the early game, make a lot of mistakes here, because then TES can start to snowball even quicker and get that advantage on the map. Gonna be curious to see how they end up playing it out. For now, jungler is going to be on the same side, both on the top side of this map, even more important considering how much attention we put into this top lane.
We'll just highlight here that in the mid lane, it's Ignite versus Exhaust. Ignite for Karis, his first play on this one for the split. And he was sort of coming out on the slightly worse end of some of the trades versus Creme. So that's just something that I'm going to keep my eyes on and see how that continues to develop. Because if that goes poorly, that can be a very, very dire straight for the WE mid lane. For the time being, though, it is focus up toward the top side, and as with any sort of Olaf matchup, it becomes, can you dodge the axes? If yes, you probably win. If no, then maybe not, as a gank into the mid lane is going to fall flat. The charm went wide by, or the chain rather, went wide by Karis, but Monki did secure top crab, and he's going to be able to pick up the bottom one as well.
Yeah, it is really hard to gank block, and I think Monki realized that. Just going to go down, take crab, make his way back. Pretty standard start for both of these sides. Everybody kind of doing their job at the current moment. Lee Sin actually gonna get double crabbed, so not an ideal start for Tian in general, but Lee Sin is definitely going to be more proactive as we continue to go along. Once that level 6 hits, he's going to be more and more aggressive as he's actually looking for an invade here. Erha has scouted it out. He is going to see this.
Oh. Tense times here as Tian doesn't get hit by the hook, and I don't think they actually saw that hook come out, but you're level 3 as a Nautilus going into a full HP bot lane. JackeyLove will more than happily try to dish out the damage. And somehow, Top Esports don't find any kills. I feel like something should have happened there.
So lucky as Erha.
There we go. Surely.
Oh, is he going to take it?
He knows that he gets interrupted by the Q, and the response from WE is just a little bit swifter. Karis able to get there, not without about being flashed on underneath the turret. Still has the barrier to try to play around as the heal comes through to get Top Esports away. And it's WE that have come out on top.
Somehow, WE turned that play around. I honestly thought it was completely doomed after Erha missed the initial hook onto Lee Sin because he just has so much combat power at this point in the game, but really well done to space out by WE. Tian overstays on the Lee Sin, and this is exactly what could not happen for top esports. You cannot have a gold deficit in the mid game. You have to be able to fight at this point. We're going to see how this ends up breaking down. Once again, this hook missing is a big deal. If he hits that, obviously Tian is in a decently difficult position. Bao can just put a lot of damage down onto the Lee Sin, and this fight becomes more difficult. Now, Erha has no tools, he has no health bar, and he's still level 3, so he has to flash out. There's no way to continue to play this. I just don't understand what sticking around does for Tian. He's looking for Erha, but he's way overextended, and his team is not there to support him. Look at where his bot lane is right now. They're not going to be able to follow through. You didn't have push in the mid lane, and he just gives a bunch of free gold over to WE. Him not being able to get out is a disaster. So, massive win for WE to get themselves a small gold lead, especially in their mid-jungle duo.
Not the area of the map that we were expecting it to come through. Really thinking about how they would manage this Olaf. And you're now seeing fighting on that top side. Exhausts go down, ultimates come through. This is the Trundle domain that you were expecting to win in, but Zuian says no!
Oh, Zuian just turns the counter pick on its head. A beautiful fight for him. Picking up that kill is ginormous for this game moving forward, and that is the kind of mistake that Cube could not really afford to make. If there's one part of the map that you do not want getting out of control, it is this top lane. That kill definitely equalizes things a bit in terms of the gold for both of these sides. Dragon has spawned on the map. Tian gonna try to get some vision around the bot side river here. Ultimately doesn't want to overcommit, but his bot lane is gonna have push, so theoretically they should have some advantages once he hits level 6.
And it's a small thing here, but to go back to that top 1 versus 1, Olaf, one of the champions that can so easily be dumbfounded by a well-timed flash. Cube just eating every single axe there, expecting his champion to do the work. If you'd have flashed one of the axes, that's a one fight for you, but losing out on that 1v1, being down by this gold, and you can see the difference as well in the itemization. Zuian at that time did have a cloth armor, did have the little bit of defensive stats, which tend to work out that little bit more favourably in the early stages of this game, and now Cube has to try to fight his way back from a pretty decisive disadvantage.
Yeah, this is a terrible spot for the Trundle to be in. Not only are you down in XP and gold, but you really don't have any way to continue to fight. Tian is going to get forced out of the top side here.
Alrighty, we'll see. He's going to lose out a little bit. As Creme goes in, going to immediately find Karis, who flashes away from the Purgatory and manages to shadow away as Tian has decided that he wants to kill. And Monki's the one who lives, Karis the one who finds it. A very, very assassin versus assassin mid lane there.
I gotta be honest, Rude. WE is just playing gorgeous through their mid-jungle duo right now. I mean, they're playing on the edge of danger about as well as you possibly can. Really nice flash from Karis to make sure that he dodges the lock ultimate. If he gets hit by that, that play does not work out under any circumstance. Creme is gonna have a little bit of tempo, but LeBlanc is a champion that has to snowball. I mean, when we talk about what her overall place in the meta is, you have to get kills onto her. So I understand why this play starts in the first place. It's Karis, once again, looking to stay aggressive. Monki trying to utilize that advantage. Once Creme gets over the wall, again, if he lands this ultimate, it is over. There is no way to fight this out. Karis with a really nice flash, Zuian making his way down. But Monki has just enough damage to be able to burst Tian. The kick actually ends up saving Monki, gets him closer to the wall so he can flash over it. And then Karis is able to secure the kill. I mean, WE's mid-jungle duo are just on fire right now.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, Monki just knows the numbers better than Tian in that case. You know, Tian's thinking he's got the ability to one-shot, Monki thinking he does as well. But the actual case is that Monki's able to get away, and Tian ultimately falls flat. It's a 2-level lead as well for Monki in the jungle, which seemingly spawned from that bot side play. The early death for Tian definitely costing him quite significantly, as About lands a big one to begin with, waiting for the value from Jackie's spell shield. Didn't need it, in fact, and just turned and started autoing in with the BF and double long.
Yeah, both of these AD carries don't have a ton of kill pressure right now in the game, unless something egregious happens, as JackeyLove recognizes with the spell shield that he can be really aggressive with his positioning here, as Monki is on the bot side. Lee Sin is here as well. Dragon still on the map. It's almost 10 minutes, and we have yet to have a first dragon taken. Just going to be vision cleared out by WE. I imagine they're going to have full priority over this if they want it. They just do not have the crab available right now. Karis going to duck and dodge around, but Creme's looking for this.
Yeah, Purgatory once again called for. Dodged out from by Karis, who's got a Luden's Echo fully completed. So should theoretically, with these 2 kills, be kind of dominating the map right now. And you can see he's starting to look to make that happen. Paths down to the jungle. He's going to aid WE in securing their first neutral objective of the game, with Top Esports picking up the grubs earlier on. Now looking for JackeyLove down here, who has flash, has barrier, no on the hunt this time, but with Zwo being there, he provides enough support to just make sure that Erha can't get in.
Yeah, it's okay for JackeyLove. He just clears out the wave at the cost of a health bar that will be refilled when he backs here. My biggest worry for Top Esports right now, Rude, is isn't this when they're supposed to be strong? Like, isn't this the part of the game where they're supposed to be making plays around Lee Sin and Locke and Olaf and some of these champs? Obviously, they do have some scaling in the back end of this game, but I don't think this gets a ton easier for them, as that Trundle is only going to start getting more gold, and Corki is a massive issue for them in the late game if you don't really have any ways to be able to get on him in the backline. So WE looking pretty good right now, but they got to keep their foot on the pedal. I was saying this earlier, LeBlanc really not a champ that you can rest on your laurels with. You got to keep the pace up or else you're going to fall off. So expecting to see Karis continue to stay active.
So I think that, again, as this game gets later and later, it's the champion interactions that really intrigue me. Obviously, Trundle is very good versus the Olaf in a late game situation, but we may be seeing that in the mid game, it's not looking quite as good as it needs to. Subjugate goes down, then the Ragnarok. Double exhaust. We're back once again here, but this time, Cube has the better end of this fight.
Zuian got a little bit overconfident, I think, in that top lane 1v1. He said, I got the kill earlier. Why wouldn't I get the kill now? I think not recognizing, hey, this Trundle has started to hit a spike. Monki gonna be looking for TES, but he finds all of them.
Yeah, hops in there, finds 3. He's gonna get kicked over the wall and hops back over, giving him the old do-si-do here. Monki's still alive. Finally falls in the 1-for-1 trade. And it's mid laners picking up those bounties.
Oh man, Rude, we are really just getting everything.
We're in for another one.
Once again, just does not have the damage. Top Esports still kind of hanging around here in the mid lane. Should be just fine. I believe this fight is going to be over, but WE just getting such a massive lead from the plays that are being made. Monki has been on fire, kind of goes in a little bit to his death in that play, but ultimately works out, gets another kill for his mid laner. Karis is very scary, and he is going to use that right now on LeBlanc.
Yeah, I love this recall from Karis. Goes back, picks up his boots, needs to get out on the map, but then immediately Dark Seal. Let's go. Yeah, as Monki starts this one quite strangely.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very strange engage, but the miscommunication, we'll just say, Monki kind of juking Creme out in that fight ends up being a pretty big deal as he survives way too long, gets a ton of damage down, even gets that extra flag down to give Karis the auto attack buff, and just really well done overall by the jungler of WE that continues to be, obviously, the captain and the driving force of the team. But, it's not just Monki that has been able to win. Karis is 3-0-0 in this LeBlanc. Cube has very much scaled the solo laners that we highlighted in the pre-show. They're stepping up, Rude. They are very much, living up to expectations right now.
And this is now Trinity Force for Cube as well versus Zuian, who's yet to reach that first item. Might be looking to bait in his opponent here. Yes, this is Ragnarok versus Subjugate. The Trundle probably winning this one. Gonna take one kill. Might fancy himself for a second. Creme goes in Purgatory, goes down, and that Trundle has been shut down. Creme now with 2 kills. Maybe the lifeline that Top Esports needs.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is an okay play to get a second kill onto Creme. He is definitely the win condition for Top Esports in this game. If they can get onto the LeBlanc or the Corki in any of these fights, things are going to get easier. But ultimately, I don't want to trade kills onto the Trundle. That doesn't feel good. Like, that's not something I would want. Monki is a little bit stuck under tower, but there's no wave. This is a very difficult dive to pull off, and Tian's a level down.
I think there is a point in this game as well where the Trundle can probably dive the Olaf if this game gets later enough. And, that's not something you want to be encouraging. As Monki goes in, he sees Creme use all of the spells on the wave, and Creme uses some grey health to get back up to enough HP to think that maybe he fancies the 1 versus 1 in response. Monki dodges 2 out of 3 Ritual Nails, and he's going to be able to walk out to safety as Creme succeeds, pushes that wave in on the top side, and Erha, with an anchor that goes very wide, might incentivize Tian to go in. Instead, safeguards back out, and everything on this top side peters down into nothing.
Tian is still here. He's going to get his back interrupted which is a bit of a problem tempo-wise, because when you look at the timers, we've got about 20 seconds on both of the major objectives, and WE has full control over this bottom side of the map. Monki's going to be making his way down, and they have the push in both of the side lanes. So ultimately, great control by WE to be able to really force this Lee Sin out. JackeyLove is potentially under threat here.
Here's Flash, uses it immediately, gets caught by the dredge line, and about finds the kill. Excellent from Erha to find that as Cube. Woo! What a pillar.
Yeah. He's happily gonna get out, teleport his way up top, and you know what? He's like, oh, hey, tower gold? I'll take that too. You know, not too shabby. Gonna be able to, you know, avoid a gank and get some extra gold at the same time. 3,000 gold lead now. WE are dominating.
And I do think that for WE, the game plays out in a split push fashion with LeBlanc, with Trundle. You know, LeBlanc not a notorious turret taker by any means, but Trundle quite the opposite. Frozen Domain, able to chomp turrets. It's very infrequent that you will see a champion take a tier 2 turret from full HP in one fell swoop, but Trundle the one to be able to make that happen. Cube now in a very good position in this game, up not actually any gold, but currently feels like one of the strongest pieces of this WE composition.
Yeah, that's 75 gold lead for Zuian, doing a lot of the heavy lifting for Top Esports. Not really a lot the Olaf can do. He's still sitting on Tiamat, not even at that power spike yet. As I say that, he finishes the Stride Breaker. So definitely starting to get a little bit stronger, but ultimately these neutrals are completely in control of WE. They should be able to really do whatever they want on the map right now, which is use this Battle Herald to potentially try and charge into the mid lane.
No Drake for 4 minutes. We just saw Tian take that one down, but they are going to find the tier 1 turret in the mid lane. Zuian deployed out to this mid lane to try and stop that from happening as Karis hops over the wall, forces the Unbreakable Will from Zhuo, who does go back in onto Monki, who pops out immediately. Zuian's gone in here. He's kind of on his own and about survives. WE peel their marksman, keep them alive, and Erha re-engages straight into a TP though. And it looks like it's a situation where whoever goes in is just killing themselves as Creme picks up that one with a proto belt.
Yeah, I think Erha, unfortunately, not understanding his team as well. I will say Cube is just split pushing this entire time. This fight might not be over.
Monki goes over the wall. Karis dancing. JackeyLove here might lose out on his barrier, but it's Karis who loses out on his life. Zhuo punts Monki forward, knocks him up afterwards, but the turret takes down Creme. Now it's about who finds one. A rocket finds a second, and WE once again coming up on top.
It's so close for Top Esports. Creme is massive on this lock, but he has to do everything for this roster. Zuian going down early in that fight meant you don't really have that secondary damage dealer. Tian is just too far down in gold to be able to fight alongside the rest of the team. Ultimately, WE are able to get even more gold off the back of that play, but there's a lot that happens in this small exchange. First off, with LeBlanc, this is kind of the big advantage of her in the late game here, or in the mid game, is that you can burst a lot of tanks down and really create these odd-numbered fights. I don't hate the fight call from Top Esports, because once LeBlanc burns her combo, it is kind of hard for her to re-engage, and she has a lot of gold on this team. Once Zuian goes down, it's just kind of a bad re-engage from Erha. He has to recognize LeBlanc can't really help me here. There's no way for this Nautilus to be able to create enough action. At this point, I like the re-engage from Top Esports, but About makes his way here on the Corki, and that's just too much damage.
And I did notice here, Karis fat-fingered his flash, so went for the ignite, instead flashed as well, so, you know, Zhuo got 2 for the price of 1, as Creme now going to get, well, similarly 2 for the price of 1 here, and now Karis and Monki joined by Cube, now has a timeout to keep himself moving, working towards that Titanic Hydra quite nicely, and probably going to look to lay waste to this turret as easily as he did the top lane tier 2, but an engage by Zhuo stops that from happening. However, this is in a 3 versus 4, relatively ill-advised. Creme doing as much damage as possible, and now Zuian is here to party. Subjugate to get some tankiness, and actually, he just melts! Goodbye to the Olaf, and hello to a tier 2 turret. The Alistair's going to fall as well, and Top Esports are crumbling under WE.
It's just not gonna work, man. This Olaf is completely useless. This Trundle counter pick is working out and then some right now for WE as they take a 6,000 gold lead in this game. Not gonna quite get the turret here, and About's gonna get chased down.
On the hunt, but you're like 2 people immediately chasing Top Esports. That might have been the most questionable part of this game.
Look, I get it. I get where they're coming from. This game feels so out of reach that if WE made a mistake and tried to back there, you're kind of hoping and praying for them to screw up at this point. You're not going to win a lot of even fights anyways, and so, kind of banking on the fact that maybe WE aren't in the right position to protect their carry could be a good call. At this point, dying in that position doesn't really lose you much anyways, other than tempo. Baron is going to be on the map in 5 seconds. We will see if Creme and JackeyLove are going to be up to try and contest this, or if WE are just going to rush it.
I'd even argue here that the game plan for Top Esports could be, okay, Creme can't do enough. Let's wait for Sivir, but they are belligerent in their engages. Now Zhuo caught in a Cataclysm, going to headbutt his way out of there. However, with 5 people of WE knocking around, they'll take a quick stake before they get the Baron. As Tian gets popped by the LeBlanc. 10-stack Dark Seal, no Flat Finger the Ignite this time. And with a Shadow Flame in the back pocket as well. This is looking very, very much decided as WE just 20 minutes into the game are working through the Baron.
Rude, what has happened to WE? I seem to have, they seem to have been replaced by some sort of godlike team with perfect macro and great execution. This team has been on fire today. They have completely outplayed Top Esports, and we were talking about how much this series meant to them. We were talking about what it meant for them to be a team that could go toe-to-toe with Top Esports and, be near the top. This is an org that has been trying their hardest to get back to the top of the LPL, to be an international contender. This could be the year. They look incredible in this series. Dragon has spawned on the Rift, and they have an 8k gold lead to basically take it for free.
You posit the question, what has happened to WE? And I praise you for that, because sometimes WE do look like this, which is why it's so frustrating when they also look like a team that can't do very well versus other strong teams in the region. The other question is, what has happened to Top Esports? They came out of last week 6-0, absolutely dominant. Then the start of this week, lose to LGD 0-2, and now it looks like they're getting 2-0'd by WE as well. Granted, that's a little bit less embarrassing, but it's definitely not something that you would expect to happen for a team who, domestically, typically is incredibly high and very difficult to take down.
Absolutely. I mean, Top Esports, unfortunately, are kind of being exposed a bit in this game or in this series in general as a team that needs a lead in order to feel comfortable. The lack of flexibility has really come back to bite them, and WE has taken full advantage of that. Their early games have just not been good enough to be able to stay active. Tian looking for any angle. This Lee Sin has found nothing throughout this entire game. Tian has been a ward, really, for the rest of his team. We'll see if he can make any play happen, but he's overextended here.
I mean, Karis fails the wall hop, which gives Tian maybe an extra second. Does look actually to catch About, who is still very healthy, still absolutely fine. Creme goes in and does assassinate him. We'll take 1,000 gold for that luxury, but he gets caught by a chain, taken down by Monki. It's a 2-for-1 pick there, and the gold may have favoured Top Esports for that exclusive play. But with Cube on the top side pushing, with the Baron still at their backs, and the numbers advantage being in their favour, WE are probably going to lay waste to more than just those 2 champions.
Cube
chomping under the turret. JackeyLove barriers, survives. And that's it.
Oh, just barely survives on the Sivir. Do not actually believe that that champion should have survived in that instance. It's insane. How little damage LeBlanc can do sometimes, even from ahead. Ultimately, Karis still making the most of what LeBlanc can do. And you know what? Maybe it's exponential, because the book has been bought, Rude. We have 10 stacks of Magi's on Karis in the mid lane now. And if you thought that LeBlanc was hurting before, if you thought Sivir was in danger, if you thought this lock was in danger in some of these fights, I think that's only going to get worse.
And I think working towards a Storm Surge as well as third item, so only going to continue being an absolute menace as the game gets further and further on. At the point now where just Wing overall, pressing Q or QR on somebody, probably going to be enough to chunk them to 75-80% of their HP. And when that Storm Surge comes through, probably enough to find a kill on its own. The Baron didn't break open the base for WE, but Top Esports are still down 10,000 gold, so even these sieges feel impossible to defend.
Yeah, this looks very, very dangerous. Monki has the GA available.
Okay, Cataclysm knocks up 2, and the kick does take them out of it. Ragnarok popped, but Zuian has done nothing with it. Monki even flashing forward here. Flash in from Cube.
Oh my God.
Subjugate to try to dubstep take down the Olaf. And this Trundle is just running roughshod through top esports. No chance for them. No chance for anything other than a 2-0. Is that a double kill for Erha? Congratulations, buddy. WE, 12,000 gold to the good, and they haven't even finished putting the finishing touches on this game. A terrible start to week 4 for top esports, but an incredible one for WE as they take down top 2-0 here.
The best possible outcome for WE. They are not just better, they are better by a gigantic margin. They absolutely outclass one of the best teams in the LPL, or what we thought was one of the best teams in the LPL. I believe this gets them back into the top 4 from a standings perspective. I think that can change in the next series, but at least for now, I believe they are back in the top 4. And we were talking about, okay, can WE be good enough to make any sort of run towards, an international tournament? We've seen them make a deep playoff run. We saw them get top 3 and go to game 5 against BLG in the previous split. Their championship points are good. Their form is good. Who's to say they can't do it?
I think the answer to that question is only them. They are the only team who can decide how far they're going to end up going. They've looked so incredible from playoffs of last split, really throughout this split, with obviously the classic WE highs and lows, but this is up there with one of those high highs here, as we can now take a look at the standings and see how that has affected things. Top esports 7-3, WE 6-4. They're just one series away from one another at this stage. Putting JDG again back down into 5th, like you said, Kman. That can change off the basis off of the next series. But this is, again, a standings that we are excited by, I think, nonetheless.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to have this much competition at the top of the LPL is incredibly exciting. I think people really came into this split with the belief that, well, it's a clear top 4. We're going to be sending these specific 4 teams to Worlds, and there's not really going to be a lot of competition. It's been the exact opposite of what we've actually gotten. Now, I don't want to overreact to a couple of bad regular season series. We know that sometimes these teams can try some things out. I think both of these games were massive draft gaps in favor of WE, which definitely says that there is some room to improve for top esports, but ultimately, at some point, you got to start locking things in, and WE is a team that has done that. They are above 500, both in terms of series score and in terms of game score, and to do that right now in Group Ascend, really impressive stuff.
It is, and obviously, this, I think it starts us off on the conversation of, can WE actually secure top 2? I mean, they're still feels like a good ways away from it. Are BLG and AL going to drop 2 more series in the next sort of 5-6 games that they've got? Maybe not. But if they look to try and take those series away from those opponents, then who knows where they could get to. Obviously, for top esports, they are still just about in that conversation, but I think a 3rd loss in the column is about as much as you can afford to give over. It means you're probably going to have to try to take away one of those, or a win versus one of those 2 teams here as well.
And that's the thing, right, is when you look at top esports schedule for the rest of this split, yes, they have EDG later on this week. Week number 5 for top esports is Anyone's Legend, Billy Gaming, JD Gaming. I mean, it's the best teams in the league. Like they can't afford to be dropping series right now if they want any chance. It only gets harder for them.
And equally as well, if next week happens to be the week that they bounce back, what a time to do it, because they've got BLG and they've got AL, and they can leapfrog them in the standings maybe with a good series win. I like that you bring up who they've got for the rest of this week, because for top esports, that is an absolute must-win series. EDG have won 2 games the entire split, are absolutely in the dirt, and if top esports start to look a bit shaky versus that roster, we are sounding the alarm in full effect here.
Well, and that's the thing about this next series that we're getting here tonight as well, with Anyone's Legend taking on JD Gaming, is that this also kind of determines how aggressive top esports need to be. Because if AL win this, now all of a sudden you're sitting at a spot where they're like definitely in a position to get top 2, and they have to screw up, and you also have to beat them. Like, there are so many more things that have to go right. I will say, JDG, a team that we've, talked a little bit of crap about, I think, on, the broadcast here. They're on a 4-series winning streak. They're coming off of a big win against BLG. This is not a team that you can take lightly right now. Both them and AL are in good form. There is actually potentially a threat for top esports to fall as far as 4th or 5th in the standings as well if things really don't go their way, and that would be a nightmare for them.
You're exactly right, and I do quite like that from your for the highlighting of JDG. I think a lot of the early season left a sour taste in a lot of talent's mouths, sort of thinking, well, if they're going to go down 1-4 to start off with, what even is the point? But you know, they are slowly here, actually, like you've said, on a pretty big streak, and a series win like the one they found recently is definitely something to be really excited by. So I think for JDG and for AL, it's definitely going to be a big series. We are going to take a little bit of a time to take a look at some of, I believe, the highlights and the stats before we head off for that said series. So we're just going to keep our eyes out. I think they're concluding an interview on the live broadcast for the time being. But for WE here, again, we talked about the ramifications for top esports, a little bit more for WE, that this is a team that for the most part of last split were the EDGs of split number 3, right? They really looked absolutely beatable in every single sense. But what WE always had in that back pocket was always like a little bit of something that meant that they'd get a game 3. Most frequently, they'd end up with a game 3 and then just lose somehow. Now, they've turned into a team that are absolutely dominating. Again, this is a non-LPL gold graph this time. This is a lovely mountain that they're climbing and that looked really, really solid. Karis with the most damage in the game on a LeBlanc. This is exactly what you want out of a LeBlanc. Most damage in the game, never letting up, never letting that snowball stop rolling.
Absolutely. And you got to give them a lot of credit for their drafts as well. I mean, these were perfect. I mean, Jinjin was on one today in terms of making sure that they set themselves up for success because, you know, while Karis popped off, I think they had so many tools throughout both of these games to just continue to keep the pressure up. What I want to talk about for WE and like what has turned around for them, when you look at what changed for them in the playoffs and how they've been able to carry it over, it really is just identifying Monki. Okay, you're the kind of player that wants a gold lead and wants to snowball. I still don't think this team is very good at playing slow-paced, methodical, like team fight-oriented games. That's not what they want to do, and I think they've recognized they don't have to do that. It's the LPL. People are going to fight you, and if you can continue to keep pressure up, look at how good and clinical they were in these skirmishes throughout a lot of the mid-game. This is where they thrive.
Yeah, and again, like you said, that they play on the edges, right? They know the limits of their champions. It almost sometimes feels like, to a better extent than the majority of teams in this league. Like, just this from Erha is absolutely gorgeous. Oh yeah, sure, Siv's going to burn Spell Shield. That's absolutely fine, but I've got the counter. I've got the flash and the auto, and then the follow-up ulti, which is really going to make the difference. And it actually begs the question, is JackeyLove misplaying that, which is slightly rare to say, but definitely a possibility to consider. As even in this play, you know, they're just reaching a little bit too far, going that hair's breadth too far forward, and that's what ends up costing them, really.
Let's be honest, JackeyLove did not have a good day. Like, this was certainly not one of those peak JackeyLove days. He's been excellent this split, so I am willing to give him a little bit of grace in terms of the way he played. You know, we're gonna kind of say, okay, you know, you're allowed a couple of bad games, but he wasn't very good in their previous series against LGD either, going up against a bot lane that they absolutely should have destroyed and just weren't capable of doing that. This is another one where, you know, JackeyLove on the Ziggs was too far forward, getting his Banshee's Veil popped in fights that he shouldn't, and you're talking about him on the Sivir, not really using Spell Shield properly and mispositioning on some of these engages as well. It's just the smallest things. It's those positioning mistakes. It's, you know, the place that you put yourself in the mid game that really causes these games to snowball out of control. And those little things were the things that top esports just could not get right today.
Yeah, absolutely. The minutia, right? The little bits that can sometimes make or break a game is exactly what ended up costing top esports here in this one. And in a different series, in a different game, maybe that goes their way. You know, if they weren't down 6,000, 7,000 gold, however much it was in this game, maybe that ends up going their way. If they'd have played one earlier fight a little bit better, they might have had an extra amp tone, which takes that kill over the line, an extra longsword, which takes the kill over the line. But as it was, as it had played out, they just did not have that. And they weren't really there, weren't really able to make it happen. And WE were just the absolute beneficiaries of that.
I really want to give some context as well. Again, I know we talked about this a lot in the cast itself, but like, WE were not in good form before this series. They were not playing well. This team was looking really bad. They got destroyed by JDG at the end of the previous week. That series was not even remotely close. They lost to Thunder Talk as well right before that. Even their 2-0 over AL that they got earlier that week, which is a big win, similar to this one. They were down 10,000 gold in game 2, and You know, I've said it many times. I think if you're up 10,000 gold, it is much more on you if you lose that game than it ever is on the enemy team. Yeah. You have to actively lose that, and AL certainly did. Like, this was not a team that was in good form at all going into this series. They needed to be able to pick up a big momentum shifter, a confidence builder like this, and this really could be the thing that gets them back on track into getting into that spot. And you know, Monki, I think, getting a deserved player of the game. Although I think, hey, Karis deserves at least some shout. So does Cube on the Trundle for that.
This is an unethical player of the game. Okay, yeah. We talked in game 1. That was an ethical player of the game. This one, very unethical. Karis was very prolific on the LeBlanc. Was kind of popping people left, right, and center. I know sometimes you can talk about the jungle setting up for that, and yes, maybe that happened in this game. But I think Karis made more than his money's worth in the back half of that fight, and sort of paid it forward more than Monki paid to him in the first place. So I think Karis has been a little bit robbed, I'm going to be honest. And you know, some of the votes are with him. So yeah, that's feels a little bit out of sync with where I would have gone. Once again, me and the official broadcast having a little bit of a disagreement.
Rude, you have to understand, Monki is on the team and he's in the game. He is going to get player of the game. That is the way of the law for WE. When they win, he is the hero. When they lose, he is the villain. It is just the way that this org ends up operating. But I agree, Karis was excellent. We didn't talk enough about like the Trundle counter pick. That kind of innovation for WE is necessary for them to you know, go toe-to-toe with the top dogs. I think it's even more important to point out Monki is the Trundle guy. Like, that is his signature champion. To have Trundle and to say, no, we're not even going to give it to the Trundle guy. We're going to flex it top lane, and for Monki to still be player of the match. I think that is exciting. He may have not been the ethical player of the game for game 2. I think this is an ethical player of the series overall.
It is, yes. Overall, can I dispute that he was, firstly, by far and away the better jungler? No, can't dispute that. Secondly, did he really start the ball rolling for the much closer game in game number 1? I definitely think so. So, you know, in the game that is closer, that it is not as one-sided, I give a little bit more value and a little bit more grace to your input in that game specifically. So I think that Monki, definitely valuable enough to get the player of the series, but it would have been nice to have seen Karis get a little bit more recognition. Again, especially since Karis as a player, we highlighted at the start, definitely a player who plays these assassin-style champions, but hasn't had the easiest career, let's say, for Karis. It's definitely been one filled with ups and downs. Lots of criticisms have been thrown his way, sometimes, in fairness, quite rightly. So when there's an opportunity to give him some praise for a well-played game, I think we should be doing that as well.
Yeah, I mean, Karis has really kind of found a home in the LPL. He struggled for a long time over in the LCK, was one of the first real big products of that Gen G Challenger system to make their way to Tier 1 and try to make something happen. You know, we have a couple other players like About in the league now, his teammate, that have also come from a very similar system, come from a very similar situation, and all of them coming together to really play the best league they've ever played. Karis has established himself as a more than capable starting mid laner in a Tier 1 league, good enough to, you know, compete for a chance to go international, and I think that is such a far cry from what we thought he was going to be when he came over to the LPL. You just have to give him so much credit for improving, evolving as a player, and really becoming somebody that can reach his potential.
And this is year number 2 now for Karis. It was Karis and Tian that came over from the LCK at the start of last year. Tian immediately just said, all right, I did my year, I'm out. But Karis has actually, like you said, found a home in WE, and it's not been an easy ride for him either. It's definitely one that has gone through its pits and troughs, more so than anything else. Because, you know, like we've said, last split, they looked absolutely atrocious until playoffs. Similarly, in 2025, they had a split where they did the exact same thing. And split number 2 was also another massive, like, random resurgence from them. So, to give Karis a little bit more credit here, I think is very valid.
And I think it's also worth noting that, like, you know, and this applies to EDG as well, or any teams that do really bad. If you're bad in Group Ascend, you're in Group Ascend for real. Like, you got there. You earned your spot in Group Ascend, right? Like, the bare minimum, you're still better than the teams down in Group Nirvana because you beat them to get there, right? Like, you earned your way into Group Ascend. This team had the talent all year long. They just had to be able to make good on it, and they are very much doing that right now with a big win over Top Esports.
And credits to WE for that. But for the time being, Kman, that is going to do it for us here. My first scheduled play-by-play cast of the split has come to an end, and for Top Esports, their time in the top 2 has also come to an end. I would like to thank you, Kman, for joining me. I would like to thank Ice as well for helping us out behind the scenes. We've got another series coming up, obviously AL versus JDG. We've got Grapes and Quacks on the call for you there. So don't go anywhere, folks. A big series up just after this break.